All right, folks, welcome to On This Hill. That's our podcast from Church on the Hill, and I'm so excited, so thankful to have you guys here today. This is Chris and Mandy. Chris and Mandy, if you were at our Kaiser campus last Sunday, they spoke there, and if you were at, actually 2 Sundays ago, because this will come out after Sunday, they were at Kaiser, and then they're going to be at South, or will have just been at South. Wow, I'm not doing good at this. Time jumps in podcasts are hard, people, but they've been at both of our campuses. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. I know our relationship with Mandy goes back quite a ways, but Chris, we got you because of Mandy, so I'm glad.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed getting to know you. But could you guys tell us? Well, we'll start with Mandy. Mandy, how long have you been a part of Church on the Hill?
I grew up in Salem mostly, and came to Church on the Hill for the first time in 2012.
Okay.
And then I went to my DTS, my discipleship training school with YWAM, Youth with a Mission, and then came back to Church on the Hill because I really wanted some young adult groups and was looking for that kind of community connection there.
Are you still a young adult?
No,
Over?
I don't think so.
That time is over? Or-
Yeah.
So when you went and did your discipleship training school, where was your outreach?
In Uganda.
It was in Uganda. Okay, so that was the first time you'd been to?
Yes,
Uganda?
my first time in Uganda was 2012, and
Okay.
it was at the Rua base where we are now living.
Okay.
The spoiler alert, but
And for people who like maybe don't know, I think a lot of us do, but people that don't know what a discipleship training school is with Youth of the Mission, it's a lecture phase for how long?
about 2 to 3 months, depending on
Okay.
the base that you're at.
All right.
And then you go on outreach. So you put all of what you've learned into practice
Yep.
on the field.
So how long were you in Uganda that first time?
About 3 months.
Did
Or
you
2.5.
think then that you would be back?
I hoped I would, but I didn't know when or if it was possible. Yeah,
And then how long was it before you got back?
5 years.
Okay, so 5
Yeah.
years. Part of that time was right back here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the time was in Salem. I went on some short-term trips while I was back, but I really wanted to go back like the next year.
Yeah.
And God just shut all the doors.
Yep,
And
that happens sometimes.
Yeah,
It
it
feels
was-
weird, doesn't it? Because you're like, I think I'm doing what you
yeah,
asked us to do.
I think I should go to Uganda,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Why would you not want me to do the thing you asked me to do?
yeah, it was actually a really hard thing because I just didn't understand why God would like open my heart to that and then close the door right away.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, I don't want to be in Salem.
Yeah.
I've been here.
No, hey, a lot of us don't want to be in Salem who are watching this, so don't feel bad.
Actually,
about that.
during that time, like, I think it was really a time of growth for me and learning
Yeah.
how to be in community with people and to plug into a group and be
Yeah.
part of church and actually participate in volunteering
Yeah.
and just step by step,
Yep. I remember the conversation I had with God, very similar, or I should say multiple conversations, where I thought, this is where I want to be. And I love Salem, but it's not where I want to be. And I had to submit to, like, no, this is what you have for me. And I remember distinctly God saying, if I never let you go there, will you serve me here? And I'm like, oh, yeah, because you're Lord, I will do that.
Yeah.
So I will stop fighting you on that. And now I'm
I
very
had that
happy.
same
here.
conversation with God.
Isn't that
Like,
funny?
yeah, if
Huh.
if I never go back to Uganda, like
Yeah.
I'll still serve you and love you. And
Yeah.
it's so funny because coming back here now, we're like, we know we're supposed to be in Uganda fully, but there is a part of me that's like, oh, I want to be in Salem. 'Cause
yeah.
I love the people here. I love the church. So it's just
Yeah.
that.
I think ultimately God just won't let us put anything ahead of him, including his mission.
Yeah.
It just like, no, yeah, I if you don't love me, you're not going to be, I mean, if you won't obey me, I should say, or submit to my lordship, then you're going to be a terrible missionary anyway. So,
Yeah.
so
Then what are we
submit to my
doing?
lordship, and then I can use you.
Yeah.
So Chris, you talk funny.
I do. I'm not from around here.
Oh, that's
I'm
what
from
it
I'm from
is.
down south,
You're-
south of England. That is. So if I say anything kind of strange or offensive, it's just because I'm English.
Perfect. Yes.
Blame
yeah.
it on your country.
Yeah.
The get out of jail free card.
So we know Mandy well. We know you a little less well, but we know you through Mandy, and we know that you didn't meet here. So how did you get to Uganda?
Yeah. So
Do I say Uganda or Uganda?
Uganda.
depends if you're English or American.
Okay,
we
because
say
I'm struggling.
Uganda. He
Okay.
says Uganda.
Okay. And I've been confused. I'm like, oh, I might be saying it wrong. Okay.
Yeah. So my journey probably started around the same sort of time as Mandy, but it was a slightly slower start. So it was around 2012, 2013. God was just starting to speak to me about missions. And it was just, I'd maybe hear a sermon or hear someone's testimony or story, and it just kind of pull on my heart, and I just felt my heart yearning, I guess, for missions, and just felt that kind of call being put on my life. But for quite a while, I didn't know when, where, what that would look like. So I still have a lot of questions, and there's quite a bit of journeying through there. And it kind of came to a head in 2014. I kind of really felt that this is where my life is going. And I had what I would call a general call to missions, but I didn't have a specific location, anything like that. And so, and there was a verse in Isaiah. I always forget the verse. I should remember it. But it says, you'll hear a still small voice behind you, kind of telling you which way to go, when to turn left, when to turn right.
Walk in it. I think I know it in King James.
Yeah. And so, but just the idea that the voice is behind you.
Yeah.
And very often, God wants us to step out. He's given us something, so we take the step, and as we go, it's when he kind of directs. And I think you gave a picture last week about the moving vehicle. Once you're moving, it's very easy for God to kind of turn that and direct it.
Yeah.
But so that really encouraged me to get going.
That's really good. That actually helps me because I'd never thought about it being behind me. But there's another verse in Psalms that says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow you all the days of your life." And I remember an old leader of mine saying, "Move, be in action, and then goodness and mercy will rear end you." Like they'll come up from behind you and hit you, but don't try to chase goodness and mercy. Let goodness and mercy follow you.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's super interesting.
And so then I was then wrestling with, well, where shall I go? That was a wrestle of, should I go somewhere?
Right.
Or do I need to wait for a more specific call? But that was my, kind of, I need to go somewhere and, try something, do something. And in that kind of moment in my life, I guess anytime I'd hear a testimony or a story, or I'd see someplace on the news, my mind would go, oh, maybe I can go there.
Yeah.
And I can't say it was a voice. It wasn't audible. It was not loud. It was not clear, but it was persistent.
Okay.
Saying, no, you go to Uganda.
Oh.
And it didn't matter what I thought about, where I thought about going. It was just that sense, that feeling of, no, you go to Uganda. And then I remember in 2014, I was in a prayer at my church, and I said, God, shall I do this?
Yeah.
And I, heard fairly clearly God say, it's good for you to go to Uganda. I've got a mission for you there. You'll know what to do when you get there.
So you'll know what to do when you get there. So you literally just went not knowing.
Yep. So I asked my boss for 2 months off work to go to Uganda, and then to...
They do that in England? They give you
No, so they said no.
Oh, okay.
And I said, well, I've just booked my flight, so I'm going. So that's how I left my job.
Okay.
And I didn't have any...
I don't want to get too lost in the weeds, but what was your job? Just so
I was working for the government in procurement.
Okay.
Buying tanks for the army.
Oh, really? Maybe I do want to get in the weeds, but we won't.
Another time.
So you left your job, you go to Uganda.
Went to Uganda, I had my flights booked, and I didn't have any concrete plans. I had a few contacts, few connections, including at the YWAM base in Arua.
Okay. But you hadn't done a DTS?
No, not done DTS, never been in contact with YWAM.
Okay, and if you don't know and you're watching this, if you have not done a discipleship training school, you really have to.
You should do one.
Yeah, you should really do one. That's true.
Do your DTS.
But you also can't really staff YWAM. You can't come join YWAM unless that's the gateway into Youth with a Mission. So if you hadn't done that, but you had contacts there, then you still needed to do one if you wanted to work with them.
Yeah, and I ended up having 2 or 3 kind of visits to YWAM as kind of a short-term volunteer, like an outreach kind of thing. And so I got to Uganda. Ended up spending quite a bit of time at the YWAM base, and just through that first trip, I think the best way I can describe it is that I came alive. I don't know if you're familiar with the quote, and I don't know who said it originally. It's
Yeah.
often attributed to John Eldridge. It says, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and do that.
Yeah.
Because what the world needs is people who are alive."
Mm-hmm.
And that's the overwhelming kind of sense I got coming back from that first trip, was that I came alive, and I just knew
Yeah.
that was where I was supposed to be.
Okay. So then when did discipleship training school come into the mix then for you?
Yeah. So there was I think 2 other trips back to Uganda short term, and through those God was kind of clarifying and kind of shaping the vision, I guess. And then it was 2017 I decided I really should do a DTS and kind of join YWAM.
Okay.
So I ended up doing my DTS actually in Tanzania in
Okay.
2017 into 2018.
Yeah.
And then again through that God was still speaking to me, and I came out with just an even clearer sense of direction in terms of going back to Arua. So
Okay.
I joined there as staff in July 2018,
Okay.
which was just a few months before I met the love of my life.
That's right. Yeah. So did you pick her up from the airport, or did you just
From the bus.
from the bus?
Yeah.
The
Okay.
bus.
Yeah.
So you bussed in to Uganda. That's a long bus ride from the U.S. from Salem.
Well, it was a
lot of
long
transfers.
bus ride from Kampala for sure, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Then this English guy picks you up,
Yep.
and the love of he's calling you the love of his life, but I have heard rumors that you weren't as impressed with him on that pickup
Well, neither of us were like
at your
interested
best.
in each other
Yeah.
at the beginning, but he was just very he was on a mission to
Right.
to get
Yeah.
things done that day, so
Yeah.
he was just very in his military mode, I think.
Yeah.
And I thought he was too serious, but
Yeah, and you're a military man,
Yeah.
so in military mode, you actually kind of have that background,
Yeah.
so you can be.
Yeah.
You still stand at attention. No. So we
make a
could
joke
skip
there,
some of the middle, but it wasn't that long after that you became interested in one another, in each other.
yeah, we got
Yeah.
to know each
it
other,
was the high
and
fives
then
that did it.
High five.
Maybe we shouldn't go there.
we got to know each other, and then we started dating while I was there, but I was only going to be there for about 3 months.
Oh, okay.
And then I was coming back
Yeah.
to work in Salem again,
Yeah.
and had plans to come back. I already had my flights and everything. So we decided to do long distance.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah. And then he said, I'll come out and, we'll go
Not
from
sure she
there.
believed
But
me,
Yeah. Meet
Yeah.
the family.
and I had done long distance before, so I was like, okay, we'll see. Like,
Yeah.
we'll see how serious this guy
Yeah.
is.
I like her skepticism. You had to win her over.
yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't actually introduced the fourth person in the podcast yet. This is who?
Daniel.
Daniel
Danny.
Leroy.
Yep.
I can't forget his middle name. I love that middle name, Daniel Leroy. Yeah, we just dedicated him this last Sunday.
Yeah.
But he's not your first. We want to tell us about the kids.
Yep. We have Hannah, who's 4, and Gideon, who's 2.
Yep.
And then Danny's our
We'll
3rd.
hopefully play nicely next door.
Yeah, I really, I've seen your kids before, but seeing Gideon a couple Sundays ago and him wanting to wrestle me was like, okay, you're my kind of kid. I love this. He kind of got low. And,
He's all
and,
man.
Yeah, went after me, and I'm like, let's go, son. I can take you. Yeah, your kids are wonderful.
And this was basically the first time he met you, because
Yeah,
he
he
just
doesn't
looked at you and
remember.
then,
Yeah, like
Yeah,
this looks
I
like
could
the
wrestle
kind of
him.
guy I could tackle. Yeah.
We'd just gone over with him that you can wrestle guys, but don't wrestle your sister. Don't hurt you.
That's good. Yeah, no one mistakes me for a girl. So he saw a guy and he assumed. So can we talk just a little bit about kids in Uganda and what that looks like? Like, you're a family in Uganda. On Sundays, we kind of talk about the mission and stuff, but I'd like to know a little bit about the family.
It's a good time because Danny's asleep, so we won't
That's
be put
true.
off by anything.
Yeah, Danny, if you're watching this and not listening to this, he's being a little angel. He's just laying there asleep, but when he came in, he was trying to fill his diaper. So he's a real child. He's not just a doll. So talked about being a family in Uganda. Some of the people here will know that you actually built a home on the
Yeah.
YWAM base. It's the base's home, but you guys built it and occupy it, so you have a home there on the YWAM base.
Yeah.
But what's it like raising kids outside of your culture?
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Very different to what it'd be like here, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I
Then-
think, the hardest part for me is just being away from family.
Yeah.
Like, it's been so fun to see our kids with my parents, and to have that,
Yeah.
connection with them and be able to make memories with them, which is just not possible when you're halfway across the world.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for video chats,
Yeah.
because it does like help them to know their
Yeah.
family. But we are very, different couple, because we have family in the US, the UK, and in France. So we have a lot
Right.
of people to
Yeah.
go and see when we
Yeah.
go
You
back.
can't just drive on
When
the
we go
side
back
of town.
home,
You've
there's
got to cross the globe to see all your family members. Yeah.
So our kids call our home the Yellow House. It's,
Mm-hmm.
very much home to us. We love to be there, but there are definitely challenges. And we're going into a new season of homeschooling soon, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of help. We're very thankful for our expat community in Arua. They're very supportive. And
Are you far enough down the road of homeschooling that you know what kind of curriculum you want to use, or you're still starting to figure that out?
we're still figuring things out.
Still figuring it out.
Yeah.
So,
Don't.
Yeah.
Homeschooling is awesome. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And homeschoolers tend to have a lot of opinions about how it should be done.
Yeah.
So I want to pray for you guys when we leave here that goes well for you, and that you pick the right stuff, and that. But man, what a great way to raise your kids in the faith too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm excited that they get to see that, and they get to grow up understanding what it means to live by faith and to trust God. And
Yeah.
they've got a very, very outdoor lifestyle, which is fun to watch.
And I think Hannah's really grasped onto that, trusting God will provide, because she definitely prays with,
Oh, that's
You know.
awesome.
no, she always expects that God is going to answer.
Yep.
And that's really cool to see at such a young age.
It's just slightly worrying when she prayed for a fourth baby.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. There's gonna be a little prayer contest. Who's the stronger prayer?
Yeah.
You guys or Hannah?
She literally cut me off telling her that we're not going to have another baby, and she cut me off praying, say, "Dear Jesus, please put another baby in Mummy's tummy."
Oh my goodness.
So that I can have a sister, is what she said.
Yeah,
Oh,
She wants to.
man, that's hard to
yeah.
not amen that prayer. And a beautiful little
Lord, don't
Hannah
listen to-
wants it. I know. Oh, that's really fun. So you guys are, America and England, that's cross-cultural.
Yeah.
It's not the hardest cultures to cross, but it is cross-cultural. Maybe it is. Maybe
Depends
it
on the
is.
day.
Yeah, it depends on
Okay,
the day.
depends on the day. Yeah.
No, actually, we have a lot.
It
of-
was
of
pretty hard
friends.
when I came home 2 days ago with a monster cookie, not realizing there's peanut butter in it.
Oh, what
I was
happened?
so
First world
disappointed.
problems.
Yeah, that is a first world problem. Yeah, but you're not from different hemispheres. You're both from the Western world. You're both from, there wouldn't be
Yeah.
an America if there wasn't an England. Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome. Glad we could do that for you.
Yeah, thanks for leaving when you were uninvited too. We appreciate it. But you guys are, a cross-cultural marriage, and then you're living cross-culturally, and you're also training cross-culturally. So we talked about discipleship training schools. Both of you guys have done them. It's a core part of what Youth with a Mission is. But you're also doing discipleship training schools and trying to train people to do discipleship training schools. How many students that come are native to Uganda, and how many are outside of from a different culture?
I would say typically 80 to 90% are from either Uganda or South Sudan.
Okay.
So we're very close to some big refugee camps with hundreds of thousands of South Sudanese refugees, and so
Yes.
a lot of people in our town, in our region, are from South Sudan. So I'd say 80 to 90% of our students and our staff on the base are either Ugandan or South Sudanese.
What are some of the maybe unique strengths that a Ugandan student brings to missions? Is there anything you'd say, like, man, culturally, we've got this to learn from them, like they're this or that? Just curious.
I mean, I think generally in the culture, they're much better at doing relationships and kind of living in community.
Hospitality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of, So I think that's...
I didn't even offer you guys a water when you came in. I get it. I see what you're saying. I get it.
Yeah, so I think there's, in terms of the culture generally, that's far more of a big deal there.
Yeah.
You know, in the West, we tend to be more individualistic, and actually we have to learn to be interdependent with the body of Christ. You know, that's how God designed us to be. He didn't want anyone to be independent. We're supposed to be actually living with other believers in community, helping each other.
How is being more relational or more hospitable helpful in being a missionary? Like, what if I came in as a Westerner and I don't think about relationships as much as I should, and I'm not as hospitable as the culture is? I imagine there's a lot of places I would struggle to get along or to get things done because they're on a different. So, how is being more relational or more hospitable a useful tool in missions?
Yeah, I think when you can sit down with somebody and build relationship and actually live with them, it's far easier for them to hear you and understand you and to kind of pay attention to what you're saying. It's very easy and I'm not down on short-term missions. I think they're fantastic. And
absolutely,
if you're watching, you haven't been on a mission trip, go on one.
Yeah.
Uganda next year. Yeah, so short-term missions are great, but there's something much more powerful about living in the culture, building those relationships,
Right.
understanding their way of life. When you understand how they've been brought up, you understand their worldview, why they do what they do, it makes it much easier to be able to kind of speak into those things. I think when you go cross culture, it's quite easy to see some of the differences, and you might very quickly have ideas of what they're doing wrong and how they can improve it.
Yeah.
But actually, it takes longer to understand why they're doing that, because there might be a reason they're doing that we don't understand.
Yeah.
And so it takes that time getting to know them, building the relationships with the community, that you understand, not just seeing the problems, but understanding the root of the problems, and how best to address some of those things if they need addressing at all. Sometimes it's our perspective that's not completely right. And
have you ever read the book Warm Culture, Cold Culture? It's kind of a staple sometimes.
I think I've...
It's almost a booklet. It's
I think
so
I have.
Short.
Yeah,
but they give a great example in there. I believe it was from South America, of a missionary coming in, and there were a group of women that were preparing food, and this was a female missionary. I'm pretty sure this is from that book. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think it's from the book Warm Culture, Cold Culture. And the missionary saw, like, oh, there's a problem. It takes you guys so long to peel these potatoes. Like, there's 3 of you, sit down. It takes you hours to peel enough potatoes to feed all the people that we need to feed. And so there's a solution to this. They got peelers, they got better equipment, and they're like, here you go. And they realized there was more happening than peeling potatoes. There was relationship happening, and they were breaking the relationship. Like that, those couple hours together, everyone sitting down peeling potatoes together, were more valuable to them than the speed of getting it done quickly. Yeah. And I think about that all the time. I'm like, in cross-cultural missions, am I solving a problem that's not a problem? I just see it as one, and they don't.
Yeah, I think we have a big focus on efficiency and effectiveness.
Absolutely.
Rather than actually, it's not a waste of time if you're, like I say, building relationship.
The whole world would just listen to us. It'd be a cold place.
Yeah.
I think meetings are hard for us because we want to get to the point, get the meeting done, move on, right? We want it to be efficient. But
wait, that's godliness. I think you're mistaken. That is the right way to do a meeting.
Meetings in Uganda are often, everyone needs their voice heard. And that's what's important for them, is to make sure they have, so that is really hard. Even still, we've been there for almost 6 years. He was there before as staff, but that's been, a struggle every time, because we're like, this could go so much faster.
100%. 100%. And it's not, Ethan, should we change our staff meetings so everyone talks? Everyone gets an equal amount of time? Ethan does not think that. Ethan actually wants the meetings to be over faster. That's interesting. Is there any way that you guys have become, you would say, like, we've been there long enough, like, this is a part of us now? Like, has it changed you too?
I'm sure it has, but it's hard to see.
Is there any way that when you come back here, you're like, I'm not sure I fit in as well as I used to. I've kind of become a little Ugandan, a little African.
Well, I mean, I don't think that I'll ever be used to, like, big stores again. They just...
Yeah. It's just shocking to walk in.
So overwhelming to walk in, and you're like...
Walmart.
if I could just bring someone from Uganda and leave them in a Walmart, I don't know what they would do.
Yeah, I've had that where I brought people into they'd never seen before and walked them into a super store, and it is shocking for them. I've seen, people cry. Like, this is unreal.
And in terms of kind of just cultural differences and learning that, there's certainly, having lived in Uganda, there's a lot of aspects of Western culture, not just American. England's the same in many ways, that we struggle with, because we think, well, why are we doing it like that? That's because actually no culture's got it 100% right, and much as we might say we're a Christian country built on Christian values, and to some extent we are and we have, but actually we've all grown up with a perspective that's been shaped by culture and not completely godly.
No.
And so there's things that our culture can learn from African cultures, and there's things that African culture can learn from our culture. And
the kingdom of God does not overlay perfectly on any other culture. It has to transform that culture 100%. Every culture. There are things that will be like, oh, this fits better in this culture to the kingdom, ideals. But there are other things that are going to be far off. Unless, of course, you've ever been to Umatilla. Shout out to my hometown, Umatilla, Oregon. Closest thing you'll get to heaven on earth.
I've no idea where that is.
Yeah. We don't let foreigners in. Okay. Sorry. You can drive by and I'll show you. That's as close as it gets. It's a very small town in East Oregon that most people bag on because it's not a great...
Okay.
Most people consider it not a great town, except me.
One more thing I would say about the culture is they worship with everything. I think it's really beautiful to see the worship there and to participate in that with the drums and dancing, and people are just, not worried about what others are thinking. And so sometimes to come to different churches here and you're like, no one is moving. And I just it feels very strange.
Okay. So let's talk about when you first got there and saw that. Were both of you comfortable with that? Or were you like, I'm not trying to judge. I'm just asking because we're all Westerners here and we tend to not move a lot. Or if we do move, maybe we're tapping our foot and raising a hand or something.
It was definitely out of my comfort zone at the beginning. Yeah. But I had people come and say, like, thank you for dancing.
Oh, nice.
And I think it was part of that, like, I'm coming into their culture and I'm participating and, we were just having fun together and worshiping God together. But it meant something to them that, like, okay, you're not just standing there like a Mzungu, a white person, like you're participating.
Say it again. Like
Mzungu.
Mzungu?
Yeah.
Is that
it's Swahili for white person or white man?
It's not a slur, it's a that's what I thought.
Kind of is, kind of isn't.
In China, sometimes they would say "da beizi," which just means big nose. You're a big nose. Like, hey man, like that's kind of racist.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of true. Like, okay,
in our area, they also say "mundu," and that's what they'll like call to us when we're walking down the road. Like, "Mundu, how are you?"
Yeah.
And the kids actually like will kind of chant it.
It's one thing when the little kids are kind of running after you saying "mundu, mundu."
Yeah.
But then when you get kind of young adults kind of sitting on the street corners,
so it
yelling
depends
out
on how it's
"mundu,"
used.
depends on context. Sometimes it's like, you know my name.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah. The maybe more polite way in China is Lao Wai, but Lao Wai means kind of like foreign demon. It's like outsider,
It's more polite somehow.
It's more just like outsider, but it's this like, you're not us. It's kind of
And for the kids, it's excitement, it's joy.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a white man that's different, but
Yeah. Are you enough of a anomaly that you're still a spectacle in parts of town? Like if you go to a grocery store, do people want to know? Like if you go
not
to
so
markets,
much in
do people-
town,
not so much in town, but
our
in the
area,
village, in the villages, yes, for
definitely.
sure.
Yeah.
Especially like our Hannah is blonde, blue-eyed.
Yeah.
She looks very different than the kids,
Yeah.
and so they want to touch her hair. They want to
I've
touch her
taken little
skin.
blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids on outreaches before in certain places of the world where they would wear a hoodie because they were just so tired of the attention of being touched and people wanted them.
Hannah does not like being touched.
Yeah, right.
That's one thing as a parent we've had to teach her, like the balance of, not shouting and screaming at people, but, speaking up for herself and saying like, I
Yeah.
need space. Don't touch me. If she
Yeah.
don't pick me up.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll try to get out on this. Maybe we'll start on one more topic, and then we can end at the end of this topic. But the house that you guys, I'm sorry, the not the personal home that you've built, but
Okay.
the
The
home-
building project.
Yeah, the building. No, actually, not that one. We'll get there too. The Nazareth house.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I'm really good at podcasting, guys. I get right to the point. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not. The Nazareth house. I can't even talk it. It gives
Nazareth
me a
house.
lisp. Try saying it. The
Yeah.
Nazareth house.
Yes.
I want to talk about that a little bit, but more maybe in some generalities. Like, how are children viewed in the culture that you're at? Like, what are children seen as?
They are very important.
Okay.
Like, it's good to have big families.
Wonderful.
But in a way, it's more of like an insurance of like they will take care of us. They
Yeah.
will, they'll help.
That's not why you had
and-
kids. That's
but
why I had
it's-
kids.
Yeah.
Also,
another
like children are kind of a burden because
you
they
gotta
are
take care of them.
expensive.
Yeah.
You have to pay school fees, you have to pay for clothes, you have to pay for food.
Yeah.
And that's a lot, especially a lot of these mamas are single and they don't have
Yeah.
some help at all.
Right.
And they don't have work because there's not enough, there's not enough work there. So
Yeah.
it's hard. They're a blessing, but they're also
Sure.
expensive.
Okay. So they're loved.
Yes, but also it's just a completely different culture.
Yeah.
The way that they
Not
grow up
necessarily
is
enjoyed.
Okay.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think often it can be a status thing that I've got this many kids, and but it's quite heartbreaking seeing kind of kids have so little opportunity to
Yeah.
play and have fun and be a kid.
Yeah.
Very often there's too much responsibility put on them, and sometimes that's just going and getting water because everybody needs to go and get water for the family. Sometimes
Sure.
it's digging in the garden because the whole family is digging in the garden, so they kind of work and do chores
Yeah.
from a very young age, which is not completely bad, but it
Right.
but then also there's a tendency to give the young kids responsibility for looking after the younger kids, which is just way too much responsibility for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can, not from Nazareth House, but I had a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, please.
One of the students on a DTS I was running a couple of years ago had some pretty deep trauma and guilt that he was carrying because when he was a young child, I don't know how old he was, less than 10. He was a child.
Yeah.
And his parents were at work and his grandparents had popped out and he was looking after his baby sister. And while he was looking after her, the baby kind of rolled over into the fire and had a life-threatening, and God preserved her life, but she had life-changing injuries.
Yeah.
And he's carried the guilt of what he did to her. And we had to...
And he's just a little kid.
And this guy, this grown man, is weeping in my arms, literally on the detail. I had to say to him, look, it's not your fault. That should never have been on you. You cannot be responsible for that. And
Wow.
so that's quite sad when you see
Yeah.
see that happening.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I ask because I think there'll be a fair amount of people that listen that have cross cultures at some point, and they, all of our assumptions is that people are just kind of the same everywhere, and their values are the same, but values change in other cultures. So I'm just curious, what the value was and how kids were seen. How does Nazareth House? Man, why do I have a hard time saying that? Nazareth House. This is an embarrassing one for me. How does it bring kingdom principles to the kids? Is it a place for them to be free and play?
Yeah.
What happens? there?
We have a big piece of land, and so they can play on the playground. They can play soccer. They can play. It's football in Uganda also.
The whole world.
We're not in Uganda, are we? Or
They have
England.
so many
We're in the land of
opportunities,
soccer.
and we have a library full of books that someone
Oh,
donated,
that's
and
cool.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Just some of the things like that they would never have at home, and it's been really amazing to see just how excited the kids are and how joyful they are when they're able to play. And we have the clean water, which is a big thing,
Yeah.
but also we do Bible programs 3 times a week. And so we the verse for Nazareth House is Luke 2:52. Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and favor with God and with man. So we want to be able to serve these children in every aspect of their lives. So not just in, physically, we want to make sure that they're okay when they come. We have to see, okay, they have some kind of rash on their head or something, like, what is this? Or someone will come with like a broken bone or something, sometimes like what's happened. Checking that they're healthy, but also that they are growing spiritually. And that's our main goal, of course. But if we only serve them in that way, that wouldn't be loving them well. We want to make sure that they are safe in their homes. We want to make sure that they know how to have community with each other also. And
what ages are coming to the house?
They're supposed to be 4.
Okay.
Younger kids show up,
They sneak
or
in.
they'll bring, the little girls will bring a baby on their back sometimes, and we just have to work with that. We're not a daycare though. We are only an after school center for, playing and learning.
Yeah.
And then they can be up to 14, 15. But for our youth program, we have older kids coming even because they're just hungry. They're hungry for the word. They're hungry to, they want to play too. They want to have fun even when they're older.
Yeah.
So
when there's a day that's not a school day, do they all come there? Or is it
we
just
only
after
have
school?
open hours, like during the holidays, because especially like at the beginning of the school year, in January to February, well, Christmas to January, there's a big break from school and they're all so bored. So we have kind of holiday clubs where we have football and art and reading. We have what they call coaching, which is like tutoring.
Oh, yeah.
And we did
awesome.
a lot of that during COVID, a lot of the coaching things, like house to house. So, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll wrap up, but just before we do, there is a house that you guys are wanting to build on the YWAM base, the same way that you did some fundraising and you built one that you could live in. You've got a duplex. Is it fair to call it a duplex?
Yeah, it's a duplex.
A duplex you'd like to build on the YWAM base for staff housing?
Two bedroom apartments that's going to hopefully allow 2 young families who, like us 4 years ago, would love to be part of the community, live on the base, but there isn't housing for them right now.
Yeah.
And it won't be just for them, it'll be YWAM housing, but there's a couple of families that we know that are that we're friends with that actually would love to see them being able to live on the base.
Yeah. And I'm not sure exactly the best way to do this, but you mentioned
there's a link. There's a link here to give. I might not be pointing at it. There's a link in the description down below where Danny is. You can give to a church on the hill and
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and I think that's a 2-bedroom on each side. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that would be an amazing.
Maybe can we put up a
to the
picture of the
base.
house on? Yeah, there's a picture of the house.
And the way it works, and the way it worked for our house too, is we live there, but it's a YWAM house, so it will be there for hopefully generations of YWAM missionaries after us and after whoever lives in this house.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you to you guys. I feel like you've contributed a lot to our church. You've blessed us a lot by your presence and by our connection to you. And I know that you have blessed the base there as well in lots of ways. You literally built a bridge on the base. You've already built one house that is the basis house that you guys live in, and you're looking to build more. And that's just the physical contributions. I know you've given many leadership and spiritual contributions as well in leading discipleship training schools, training up Indigenous people to reach more within the country and the continent. I just want to say thank you. We really, really appreciate both of you very much. So,
Thank you to Church on the Hill also, because you make it possible. You're part of this with us because we need support to be there. So
And Danny, thank you. You are the best guest on this hill has ever had. We invite you back anytime.
You're smiling.
Yeah, you're welcome back anytime. Even if your parents aren't here, you can come. So, all right, bless you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on Sunday.